Welcome to Community Keynotes. My name is Melissa Majors, and I'm delighted you tuned in today. I am blessed to be the creator of the show. Joined with me is co-producer Amani Roberts. Hello, Amani.
Hello, Melissa. How are we doing today?
I must admit I'm full. I'm feeling a lot of gratitude because we have so much support for our show, Amani. I mean, all the people that tuned in today, the viewers, including my mom and dad. Hey, mom and dad, I love you. I also am so grateful for our sponsor, Meeting Professionals International, Amani, MPI. That is big time.
Yes, it's big time. I have to say
Yes.
thank you very much for offering and allowing me to collaborate with you on the show. I'm super excited.
It wouldn't have happened without you, Amani. So I'm so grateful that you're here. And I must admit, I'm incredibly grateful for all of the speakers. I mean, over the next 8 weeks, we have 8 regular folks who have decided to open up and share some of their most vulnerable secrets with the show. And they're not doing it for personal gain. I mean, they are doing this to serve as hope and inspiration for people who need it the most. And I think, gosh, I just think that's incredibly noble. And I'm so grateful for these speakers. Our first speaker, Amani, is someone who I must admit I just met 6 months ago, Stu Greenoff. And his story and his courage was a catalyst for the creation of the show. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe that when people hear Stu's story, it's going to save lives. And so without further ado, it is my privilege and honor to welcome to the virtual community keynote stage, Stu Greenoff. Welcome, Stu.
Hello. Walking home from work, still partially hungover from the day before, I had a realization. The nagging feeling inside me was soon to be gone, and I realized that the only way that I was not going to be a burden to those people around me anymore, those people that I loved, was if I wasn't here at all. I walked the rest of the way home with a real spring in my step. I felt lighter, more clarity than I'd had in what felt like an age. That evening I went home and I wrote 3 letters. I wrote one to my current boss, I wrote one to one of my best friends in Canada, and I wrote one to one of my best friends in England. I placed those 3 letters on my coffee table with my important documents, and I went to bed. And strangely, I had the best night's sleep that I'd had in months. I woke up the next morning, and like all good English people do, I made myself a cup of tea. I didn't make myself lunch because I didn't think I was going to need it. I then set off on my journey for that day and my task. The task that day was I was going to end my life. I set off to the bus stop just down the road from my apartment, and beautiful day. It was sunny outside, the birds were singing. But none of that mattered because today my plan was to go under the bus rather than get on it. I stood just down off the crest of a hill so that the bus wouldn't be able to see me, just a little bit further up from the bus stop. And this bus stop was on a lake, and a beautiful, beautiful lake in downtown St. John's in Newfoundland, Canada. I had every intention of just lying down in that road and just letting that bus go right over me. And then the strangest thing happened. A duck, common mallard, I presume came up from the lake and stood right in between my legs and looked at me with his little eyes. And it was just such a strange experience that it broke me out of my reverie, and I missed my opportunity with the bus. After I collected my thoughts a little, I went and I sat at the bus stop. And then I decided to call my doctor. And I managed to get an appointment that day. And thankfully, that was the start of my own recovery journey. Now, I know this may have come as a shock to some of you, and it's certainly not pleasant to hear, particularly if you know me. And believe me, I don't want to be up here. I don't want to be here being vulnerable. I don't really want to be sharing this story. It's not something that makes me feel good to do so. But I am, because it is so, so important for us to share these things with other people who may be in similar situations. And if we can have the strength to come up and do things like this and be vulnerable, then maybe we can remind them that they're not alone. And maybe, just maybe, we can give them a duck of their own. The hardest thing about mental health and addictions problems is not necessarily the feelings that we have internally. That feeling of loneliness, of isolation, it forces us to act in different ways, to pretend that we're okay, to be normal, whatever that is. It forces us to wear masks, to not be who we really are. But I'm going to tell you that mental health and addictions problems are liars. They're thieves of joy. They make us do things that we don't want to in ways that we don't want to do them. And when we do that, when we push down those feelings and don't actually deal with the root causes of the problems, when we don't look deep in ourselves and examine why the way that we're feeling is the way that we're feeling, it can have dire and in some circumstances fatal consequences. It's estimated that 1 in 7 people worldwide suffer from a mental health or addictions issue. And just to do the quick math for you, it's about 1 billion people. In the United States alone, there right now are over 10 million people that are waiting for adequate services to their already existing mental health issues. That's not people who are suffering that haven't been treated before. This is people who are already in the system. In Canada, on any given work week, 500,000 Canadians call in sick to work due to a mental health concern, illness, or condition. And in the UK, the highest cause of death in young men and women is still suicide, which is just terrifying. These are facts. This isn't my interpretation of the truth. This isn't my personal feelings. This is stuff that's out there. It's hard evidence. It's all around you. It shows us that mental health and addictions issues are a worldwide epidemic, and one that if we don't look at them and don't really try and take control, could take control of us. We live and work in one of the most stressful times in history. I personally work in the hospitality industry, or more specifically, I work in the events industry. Our particular industry survives on a mixture of poor sleep hygiene, bad diets, working long hours, and we do all of it willingly because we want to bring people together. We want to make the world a better place. But what happens when all of those things take us too far away? What happens when those masks that we have to wear start to slip? And what happens when we push ourselves too far? The current situation that we're in worldwide with the COVID pandemic has seen an unprecedented increase in stress and anxiety, in particular in people. And this is affecting people of all walks of life, people who have never felt like this before. So these feelings, these worries are completely foreign to a whole new bunch of people. And what I want to tell you, if you don't take anything else out of this today, is that although we are physically apart, we are most certainly not alone. So if you are feeling that way, please do some searching locally for your local mental health organization charities. They will have a ton of resources that you can go and use to try and just help you get through this little part. For those of us with existing mental health challenges, the effect has been quite compounding. I myself have clinical depression. I take medication every day. So whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, it's always there, just kind of lurking in the back of my mind. My own situation during COVID has actually been better than a lot of other people's. I'm in a 2-income household, which has been wonderful. So although we have taken a hit financially, it's not left us in a position where we're going to lose our home. We have amazing friends and family around us, which has been quite a comfort to everyone involved. And mostly for me, on a personal note, I've got to spend the past few months with my daughter. She's only 2.5. And I would have been traveling pretty extensively at this time of year. So those memories that I'm going to hold are going to be precious, precious things. That being said, even though I am in a better situation than most, it doesn't mean that I've not been affected by this pandemic that we're in right now. As I mentioned, I'm in the event and hospitality industry, and our industry has been decimated by this. We're in the business of bringing people together, and we are legally not allowed to do that right now, which makes a lot of our job roles redundant. I personally have been laid off since March, and I won't be getting back until at least September. And I'm a realist. I don't know if I'm going to be getting back at all. Who knows what our industry is going to look like. When I was going through this, torturing myself with these kind of bits of information, it took me a while to come to a realization, and many conversations with my family. We collectively are going through a moment of grief. Now, I know that sounds a little bit out there, but just bear with me. So the 5 stages of grief: of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. So take my own journey right now. So here in Newfoundland, we're an island off the coast of Canada. We got hit kind of last. So at the beginning of the COVID situation worldwide, we were like, it'll be fine. It's not going to get us in Newfoundland. It'll all be good. And then when it did, we were locked down as an island off the coast of Canada, where no coming and going, certainly no way of me to work. And I got really angry. Unreasonably angry, I guess, because it really isn't any one person's fault or one thing's fault. But I'd worked really hard the past few years to get to where I am, and I could feel it all slipping away from me. And I got mad. I got really mad. And then I started to work through the process of, well, is there a way that I can do my job but differently? Can I do this remotely? Are we going to replace face-to-face meetings with this kind of thing? Bargaining. And after I come to the realization that I really couldn't do my job from home, I got really down. And it took me a good while to get out of that, until finally I kind of passed through that stage as well. And I started accepting that where we are right now is going to change. And there's not really much point in making plans, because if we're making plans, then we're just going to have to change them again anyway. So I accepted my position, and I just enjoyed that time with my daughter. So to kind of help myself through that, I started taking a real good look at what I was doing during the course of this. So I tried to keep myself busy, doing lots of things. Not more so than chasing a 2.5-year-old around the house. I tried to kind of distance myself from excessive watching of the news and social media that I had done in the first couple of months of the pandemic, because that really wasn't doing my mental health any good. As much as I loved it, eating a chocolate bar every day was not doing my diet nor my mental well-being any good, so that had to go. And then finally, when summer arrived here in Newfoundland, I did actually manage to get outside an awful lot more, which helps. That really does. So these small changes are the things that anybody can do. You just have to be cognizant of them and try and make those things work for you in your life. So what can we do during this, especially being that we're on the verge of another wave of the COVID coming around and probably shutting a lot of stuff down again? Well, I'm going to set you a challenge. And it's not easy, but it's something that I think everybody can do. I want you to try and do something good. I want you to continue or start having those difficult conversations with the people around you, the people that you love. Talk to each other, be vulnerable, help them through the situation that we're in right now. Check in on those loved ones that have got pre-existing mental health conditions. For those people who are either battling their own demons or looking after somebody who is going through this journey, I see you. You're not on your own, and you are loved. Thank you.
Great job, Stu. Great job. We're going to take a quick break just so you can catch your breath, get a message from our sponsors, and then we'll come back with some Q&A for you as well. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Drew Holmgreen, Vice President of Brand Engagement at Meeting Professionals International. Welcome to Community Keynotes, which is co-produced by two MPI members, Melissa Majors and Amani Roberts. We're very proud to sponsor this first edition of Community Keynotes, which features another MPI member, Stu Greenoff. His message today is really extraordinary. It's about mental health and well-being in this time of COVID. Really important for our industry, really important for us as professionals, yes, but certainly as individuals and people. If you want to get more information and get some resources that are available specifically for this community, then I urge you to visit mpi.org/wellbeing, where we've set up a website with education, podcasts, and a white paper that was done by our MPI women community. If you're a member of MPI, welcome. It's great to see you. Know again that if you are in a time of distress and looking to renew your membership, reach out to us at help@mpi.org. If you're not a member of MPI, please visit mpi.org/join and find out what you can do to become a member. Seek out all the information and details around membership values and membership benefits that are available to you by becoming a member. It's great to see you. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. For now, it's virtual high fives, virtual fist bumps. We'll do some real elbow bumping in the very, very near future. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you.
Once again, Stu, just an excellent job. Thank you so much for sharing. My first question to you is, why did you decide that now is the time that you wanted to speak about your mental health?
I think I kind of covered it a little bit then when I was talking, that there are so many people who are dealing with mental health and addictions issues now that aren't necessarily used to them happening. Depression doesn't have to be just like mine, and it doesn't have to be medicated. It can be completely situational. So in times like this, when things are so challenging, I feel that sharing these stories is a way of us helping other people and helping people who maybe aren't as used to feeling like this as some of the others.
Interesting. Why do you feel that discussing mental health is such a taboo topic, especially for men?
You know, that's thankfully, I feel like we're living in a time that is starting to change, which is great. And I do feel that more and more people are being open about it. It's really tough being a guy talking about this kind of stuff and sort of pushing it all down as kind of gets jammed into us as we're getting older. But I mean, a startling statistic that I found was that 75% of all successful suicides are male. But 2/3 of all suicide attempts are female, which doesn't really coalesce to what we would presume. So we know that men still aren't talking about their feelings, and it's leading them down that path that unfortunately, some of them do succumb to their own illnesses. All I would say to any guy out there is that you know less of a man by talking about your own feelings, and you'll probably find plenty more people out there if you do open up to your own friend group. There's probably a couple of your buddies in there that are feeling similar as well, and you never know, we might just be able to help each other.
Stu, the fact that you are sharing your message on the show demonstrates the courage and the bravery, and I know it will inspire other men and other people in general to open up and share. I truly believe that your message is saving lives right now. So thank you on behalf of everybody who's watching.
Thank you, Melissa.
Right now, we have our first audience participant and member who's going to ask you a question. So we want to welcome Tracy Judge to the stage. Tracy?
Hi, Stu. Stu, thank you so much for sharing your message. And I know how difficult it must be to share with an audience, but you're right. We do need to talk about this more. And I do want to tell you, if you ever need a duck again, I have plenty of them in my office, and everybody's always laughed at me, and I don't know why I've loved these ducks so much, but they have a purpose now. So just let me know. I've got plenty for you. But I do, I think your story is wonderful, and thank you for sharing. And I have had a lot of, talking to people in this industry, and people reach out to me that have said, Tracy, what does depression feel like? And it's the first time a lot of people are experiencing something that feels like this, dealing with loss of jobs and dealing with what's going on with COVID and in our world in general. So you spoke about getting help. Are there, can you share ways that helped you, whether it was therapies or treatments or groups?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one size fits all, unfortunately, with this kind of stuff. I mean, depression, anxiety, and certainly addictions issues can manifest themselves in different ways as well with different people. It can be something as simple as sadness, or it can be hopelessness, or it could be anger in some cases. So I would suggest that anybody who is feeling that way, the first thing I would do is probably call my family doctor, just to kind of have that conversation. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be on medication, but they may be able to give you a referral to go to a counselor or any of that type of stuff. But in the meantime, there are many free and accessible things that people can do. So if you check into your local mental health charity or organization, there's normally a resources page, and that would give you the localized version of what we have here in Canada.
Great. Thanks for your question, Tracy. Thanks for being an audience member as well. Next up, we're going to bring in another audience member. So we have Shelly that's here with us. So Shelly, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself and ask Stu your question. Let's see here. So Shelly, you're on mute. So hold on for a minute. Start again, Shelly. Go ahead.
Here I am. Sorry. Hi, Stu. I'm Shelly Bassett-Gilliam, and I'm in Alexandria, Virginia. And I just wanted, first of all, to say now I'm going to go run and get my little ducky out of the cabinet and bring him out. It's a good story. I thank you so very much for your candid transparency, your openness, and just how real you were in your story. And thank you for sharing that so much. I just wanted to give you an observation that I really loved what you said at the end when you said, do something good. That is so incredibly important. I have experienced through friends who have been depressed and who have made attempts, and we all cared for them. And unfortunately, one of them did end their life. But I think it's very important that that family and friends and all of us care for one another, talk with one another, check on one another. So I thank you for that. I did want to ask one question. Approximately how long would you say it was that you had been suppressing your feelings?
My goodness. You know, it's taken an awful long time for me to, and many therapy sessions and chatting with, I thankfully, my wife is a social worker, so I'm pretty sure she doesn't like bringing her work home, but she kind of gets forced into that sometimes. I think I've probably always been depressed. I think it's probably always been there. I certainly pushed everything down for a very long time, and certainly in my early 20s, I was drinking heavily, and so much so that I've been sober now for over 5 years, which is great. But I mean, I dabbled in all kinds of other stuff as well, and all of that just tended to push it all down to try and numb those feelings that I was having. And it wasn't until I reached that lowest point that I really started taking it seriously. And even from then, there's certainly been times that I've had relapses and, you know, and different things that have happened, but there's no end to it, but things do get better. And that's probably the best way to put it. You got to keep working, keep fighting.
Thank you for your question, Shelley. We appreciate you joining as part of our live audience. Right now, I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa, who's going to talk to us about the giving pledge and that portion of the show.
Absolutely. So if today's show has touched your heart, you appreciate what Stu has done here, we'd like to ask that you would help contribute to Stu's cause, which is he has selected U-Turn Recovery to help share proceeds from today's episode with them. 60% of the proceeds will go directly to U-Turn Recovery, and the remainder will be used to fund and cover the costs of the Community Keynotes production. So, and hopefully a season 2. So there's 3 ways to give. You can text, you can scan, or you can click. And we are so grateful if you were able to give, if you can contribute to our cause. Stu, can you just tell us quickly why you chose U-Turn Recovery as your charity of choice?
Sure can. U-Turn are a fantastic young charity that's out in Carbonear here in Newfoundland. They literally used to take people into their homes to help them through with peer support and general education about addictions issues in particular. They just do some incredible work with helping people through with that love and the kindness that they have. They also do a lot of public education and that kind of thing as well, and obviously lobby for helping people with mental health and addictions issues. So it's invaluable work.
Wonderful. Well, good cause. Hopefully we'll be able to help continue their mission. And that, friends, concludes our show today. But before we wrap up, I want to thank you for joining the broadcast. Thank you for opening your hearts to Stu's message and helping contribute to our cause. Next week, we'll be back on the air on Wednesday, July 23rd, with a story from a young woman. She's half my age, but I must admit, she's the most resilient and determined person I have ever met. You do not want to miss Yolanda's story. So we'll see you back here in a week. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.